the teen who outsmarted an entire police department. The break-in that started it all. Before we start, hit subscribe, because what you're about to hear will make you question everything you thought you knew about the law. It began on a freezing Thursday night in Cedar Falls, a quiet Midwest town where crimes usually meant stolen bikes or broken windows. But at 2:47 a.m., a silent alarm tripped at the town's police headquarters, the one place no one ever thought would be broken into. When officers rushed in, they found the evidence room door ajar, a faint blue light flickering from inside. Dozens of sealed boxes had been moved. Files were scattered across the floor like playing cards. Yet nothing seemed stolen until they noticed one file missing. A case file marked Harrison 2020 Confidential. That file contained evidence from an unsolved double murder, a case that had haunted the department for years. Whoever took it knew exactly what they were looking for. The police immediately locked down the station. Security footage was pulled, but what they saw only deepened the mystery. At 2:41 a.m., a figure appeared on camera wearing a black hoodie and gloves, moving with strange precision. They bypassed 3 electronic locks and entered using what looked like an admin keycard. The feed glitched for 3 seconds, and when it came back, the person was gone. The tech team slowed the footage frame by frame. The intruder couldn't have been taller than 5.5 feet, maybe younger than 20. Within hours, the department launched a full-scale internal probe. Lieutenant John Keller, a hard-nosed veteran known for his temper, took the lead. He wasn't just angry, he was embarrassed. Someone had humiliated his entire department, from the inside. By morning, the story leaked to the press. Headlines read, "Police HQ breached, hacker suspect linked to cold case?" Social media exploded with theories. Was it an ex-officer? A tech genius? A vigilante trying to expose corruption? Then came the first message. At 8:16 a.m., the department's official website crashed. When it came back online, it displayed a single message written in white text over a black screen. "If you had done your jobs, I wouldn't have to." It was signed, simply, Ghost. Keller slammed his fist on the table. "I don't care if this Ghost is 15 or 50, they've declared war." The FBI cyber unit was called in. Agents traced the intrusion to a nearby public library, but when they arrived, the terminal had already been wiped clean, factory reset, hard drive destroyed. All that was left was a single sticky note on the keyboard that read, "Close, but not close enough." Days passed. Every digital trace of Ghost vanished before investigators could react. Even phone lines glitched with strange interference whenever Keller's team tried to share data. Then, one night, an officer named Danny Price made a strange discovery. He was combing through police archives for older files connected to the missing case, when he realized something chilling. Ghost hadn't just stolen the Harrison file. They'd also edited dozens of case reports, removing evidence that linked certain officers to falsified testimonies. It wasn't a random act. Ghost was erasing corruption from the inside. Still, no one could explain how this teenager, because by now, the digital footprint suggested a very young mind, managed to override secure government servers, manipulate camera feeds, and break into a police station without triggering a full alarm. The deeper Keller looked, the more his authority unraveled. Every move the police made, Ghost anticipated. Every strategy, every trap, countered before it began. By week's end, Keller began receiving anonymous text messages on his private phone. No number, no trace, just 5 chilling words. "You're searching in the wrong place." Then the real bombshell dropped. A patrol unit found an abandoned backpack near the woods behind the high school. Inside were flash drives, a torn school ID badge, and a handwritten note. "Truth isn't illegal. Hiding it is." And beneath that, a drawing of a small ghost emoji. When they ran the name on the badge, Keller froze. The ID belonged to a 17-year-old honor student named Eli Turner, top of his class, captain of the robotics team, and son of one of the department's own officers. The case that started as a humiliation had just turned into the most personal investigation the Cedar Falls Police Department had ever faced. Because the hacker who made them look like fools was one of their own. The perfect game. The town of Cedar Falls had never seen anything like it. News vans lined the streets outside the police station, cameras flashing as reporters shouted over each other. 17-year-old hacker exposes police corruption. One headline read, "The ghost of Cedar Falls, teen or terror?" screamed another. Inside the precinct, chaos ruled. Lieutenant John Keller's face was pale and sleepless. His own officer's son, Eli Turner, had become the most wanted teenager in the country, and somehow, even with the FBI's full cyber unit on the case, he was still one step ahead. They raided Eli's home that morning. His father, Officer Mark Turner, stood on the porch trembling as Keller's men stormed in. The house was spotless, too spotless. No computers, no drives, no personal devices at all. The only thing left in Eli's room was a corkboard covered with newspaper clippings, photographs, and red string connecting dozens of cases, all tied to Cedar Falls PD. At the center, in bold black ink, were 3 words: "Truth has no badge." Keller felt a chill crawl up his neck. "He's not just hacking," he muttered. "He's building a case." They confiscated everything, even the family's internet router. But that night, the department's system crashed again. For a moment, all screens went black. Then one by one, monitors flickered to life, displaying a live feed of Keller's own office, filmed from a hidden camera. Ghost's voice came through the speakers, filtered, distorted, confident. "You framed people to protect your own. You destroyed lives. I'm just returning the favor." Every officer froze. Keller's throat tightened. "Find him. Now." The tech team traced the signal to a Wi-Fi hotspot on the outskirts of town, a diner off Route 16. SWAT teams swarmed the area, cutting the power, sealing every exit. But when they stormed the back room, they found only an empty chair, a running laptop, and a phone playing a looping message. Step 1 complete. Eli had anticipated their every move. Meanwhile, inside a small cabin deep in the woods, the teenager watched it all unfold. The glow of multiple monitors lit his face, calm, calculating, unafraid. His plan wasn't revenge, it was exposure. He had evidence, files showing falsified reports, doctored photos, and suppressed cases where innocent people had gone to prison to protect officers with connections. He wasn't hacking to destroy, he was hacking to reveal. But Eli underestimated one thing: the system's willingness to fight back. The FBI obtained a warrant to track every online footprint linked to his old-school ID. A digital dragnet began tightening around him. He had days, maybe hours, before they caught up. Eli's next move was his boldest yet. At 4:15 p.m., every public screen in Cedar Falls, gas stations, banks, even highway billboards, flickered to the same broadcast, a video of Eli's face. Calm, clear, fearless. "This town has been living under lies," he said. "My father taught me to protect people. But how can you protect them from the ones holding the guns? The truth is buried in your evidence rooms, your hard drives, your silence. I'm just digging it up." The broadcast lasted exactly 1 minute before every signal went dark. Within the hour, Eli Turner's name became the top trending topic in America. FBI agents traced the stream to an IP address belonging to a decommissioned radio tower 5 miles outside of town. A SWAT convoy raced there through the snow. The tower loomed against the gray sky like a skeleton. Inside, they found another setup: laptops, wires, and a single USB drive plugged into a modem. On the wall, written in chalk, "You're chasing a ghost." But this time, something was different. When Keller examined the footage from the tower, he noticed a reflection in one of the screens, a dark SUV parked in the distance. The license plate traced back not to Eli, but to an unregistered vehicle used in internal investigations. That's when Keller realized someone inside the department was helping Eli. He immediately ordered every officer's communication devices seized. But as he shouted commands, a voice came from the intercom, steady and composed. "You're getting warmer, Lieutenant." The station went silent. The intercom crackled again, softer this time. "But I'm not your enemy." Keller slammed his hand on the console. "Then who the hell are you?" The reply came after a long pause. I'm the only one who still believes in justice." The voice wasn't Eli's. It was older, rougher, someone who knew the department inside and out. The ghost wasn't working alone. That night, Keller found a note slipped under his office door. No signature. Just a single sentence that made his heart stop cold. "You can't catch the boy you built." And for the first time, Keller began to wonder, was Eli Turner a criminal? Or a creation of the very corruption he was fighting? The final move. Snow fell in heavy silence over Cedar Falls as the manhunt reached its final night. Every highway checkpoint, every abandoned building, every signal tower was under surveillance. The FBI, local police, and even state troopers joined forces. They had one mission: bring down the teenager who had humiliated them all, Eli Turner. But what none of them realized was that the game was already over. Inside an old auto repair warehouse at the edge of town, Eli sat before a wall of screens, his fingers typing calmly, methodically. On one monitor, live security feeds showed officers searching buildings he'd left hours ago. On another, a countdown ticked toward 0. 45 minutes and 12 seconds. That was how much time he had left before every secret he'd uncovered, every document, video, and falsified report went live to the public. He wasn't running anymore. He was waiting. Across town, Lieutenant Keller paced inside his office, the weight of the last 2 weeks etched across his face. He had stopped sleeping. The revelation that someone inside his own department was helping Eli gnawed at him. But worse than that, part of him wasn't sure Eli was wrong. The teen had exposed evidence of cover-ups stretching back a decade. Unsolved murders reclassified as accidents. Innocent suspects charged under fabricated testimony. Even Keller's own name appeared in one of Eli's recovered files, a case where an officer under his command had planted evidence. Keller hadn't ordered it, but he'd signed the report. He'd looked the other way. His phone buzzed. A known number. He hesitated, then answered. "Keller." Silence. Then a young, calm voice said, "You always wanted the truth. Come and get it." The line went dead. An address appeared moments later: Turner's Auto Repair. Keller grabbed his coat and service weapon and drove into the snow. When he arrived, the power inside the building flickered like a heartbeat. Keller stepped through the door, gun raised. The air smelled of oil and cold metal. Then he saw him, sitting at a computer, eyes fixed on the screens. "Eli." The boy didn't turn. "You're late, Lieutenant." Keller's voice was low. "You've made your point. But this ends tonight." Eli finally looked up. He didn't look scared. He looked tired. "Do you even know what you've been protecting?" he asked. "Half the men you trust have been selling evidence. The other half have been burying the ones who noticed." Keller gritted his teeth. "You think leaking files to the internet fixes that? You're burning everything down." Eli's voice stayed calm. "Sometimes that's the only way people notice the fire." Behind him, the main screen changed. Hundreds of folders began uploading to a public database. Keller saw names, photos, recordings. Decades of crimes resurfacing all at once. He stepped closer. "Stop this before it's too late." Eli turned the laptop toward him. "It already is." On the monitor was a live video feed, the real ghost. The same distorted voice from before spoke again. "Good work, Eli. The world deserves to know." Keller's eyes widened. "Who is that?" Eli stared at the screen. "The one who taught me how to find what people hide." The figure leaned forward, partially visible, gray hair, badge glinting in faint light. It was Deputy Chief Warren Hale, Keller's former mentor, a man who had retired 5 years ago after medical leave. "They took everything from me," Hale said through the speakers. "My pension, my reputation, all because I tried to expose them. But a boy who listens can go where an old man can't." Keller's voice cracked. "You used him." "No," Hale said. "He believed in the truth. I just gave him the tools." Eli stood, eyes wet but unwavering. "He showed me what they did to people who asked questions. Like my dad." Keller froze. "Your father?" Eli nodded slowly. "He wasn't just an officer. He was the whistleblower who tried to expose the department 10 years ago. The one they called unstable. The one who died in that car crash. The realization hit Keller like a bullet. He had signed that report too. The countdown on the screen reached its final minute. 59 seconds. Keller's hand trembled on his weapon. If this goes live, you'll ruin hundreds of lives. Eli interrupted softly. No, I'll save the next 100. The boy pressed the final key. The screen flashed, upload complete. Every monitor in the station downtown went black. Then, one by one, they lit up with the words, "Truth doesn't need permission." Outside, sirens wailed. The FBI's tactical unit was closing in. Keller turned to Eli. "You'll spend the rest of your life in prison." Eli met his eyes. "Maybe, but at least people will finally see what you've all been hiding." He raised his hands as the SWAT team stormed in. Hours later, the internet exploded. Major news outlets began publishing what the files contained: cover-ups, internal conspiracies, and decades of corruption buried beneath layers of paperwork. By sunrise, Keller had resigned. The chief was under federal investigation. And Eli Turner, the 17-year-old who brought down an entire police department, became a symbol loved by some, hated by others. 3 months later, in a quiet juvenile detention center, Keller visited him. He asked one question: was it worth it? Eli smiled faintly. "You tell me, Lieutenant. The world's finally watching." Keller stood to leave. Before he reached the door, a guard stopped him, holding a small envelope. "He asked me to give you this." Inside was a flash drive labeled Phase 2. Keller froze. The boy wasn't finished. As he walked out into the morning fog, a news alert flashed on his phone. Anonymous data leak exposes corruption in another state. Somewhere, far beyond Cedar Falls, the ghost was still online. And Eli Turner had just started something far bigger than anyone realized. If you think this story was intense, you're not ready for the next one. Hit subscribe, because what happens next will make you question everything.